Hello, guys, and welcome to Culture Talks episode 22. We are absolutely delighted to be joined with Jenny Irvine from Raise Ventures today. If you don't already know what Raise Ventures is a startup accelerator hub, and it's based in the heart of Belfast. We've been lucky enough to work alongside and to know Raise Ventures for a good while now, I believe around a year, maybe more. And the work that they do with startup businesses is fantastic. Jenny will explain a little bit more, but if you want to learn more, I'm going to put some details up and you can check out their website and you can learn more. If you have an idea about a startup that you'd like to explore more, Jenny and her team are genuinely the people you want to speak to, especially in a time when having a little bit of direction or finding funding can be a really difficult time for you. But Jenny, do you want to explain us a little bit more about what you do and what Raise Ventures do?
That's brilliant. Thanks very much, JP and Sean. Great to be here, and thanks everybody for listening in. Yes, we are a startup accelerator program here in the Cathedral Quarter, and the why we started was because we were finding it really hard working with startups to find investors, and we were also working with investors finding it really hard to find good startups. So we started actually from an events point of view and doing pitching events in and around Belfast, and that started to build our community. And then from that, we opened up our accelerator program. So it's a 6-month program helping those startups with the process of looking at their idea, validating it, even building out their technology product, commercializing it and taking it to market, and then looking for investment. So we cover quite a wide range of the process of startups, even though it's all under the umbrella of early stage. We're predominantly helping tech startups, so it's that kind of get a tech product that solves a real problem, and they have to build it, which takes a bit of time, then have to try and sell it. So they need a lot of support early on, and that's what we're here for during those 6 months. And our program is quite unique in that it's the only private accelerator here in Belfast, and we take a real interest in our companies. We take a percentage stake in the company, so their success is our success. So even once they finish the program, it's in our interest to help them. So we'll go over and beyond, not just the education piece, but the mentoring, the coaching, and the connections and the community piece to try and help fill those gaps that they don't really don't have expertise in.
Yeah. That's an excellent.
It's obviously a hard point. I mean, we know it's only of recent times that we really, only a year in full time into our business. It is challenging, and to have someone like yourselves is great. You know, it's a great support network just to kind of point you in the right direction, just to sort of show you what you need to do next, I suppose. I mean, what do you find are the sort of the pain points, I suppose, the new businesses starting up?
Well, coming up with the idea, we always say, is the easy bit, and then it's actually putting that idea into a business, and that's the big challenge. These founders are often on their own, they're individuals, and as you say, they don't maybe know how to take those next steps. They maybe don't have the knowledge or the expertise or understand, where to turn to, and that's where kind of the advisors come in and help them. And because they're on their own, they want to build that community around them to get started.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that is one of the things that we noticed as well at the start. Because I mean, we left our full-time job. We spent the first month just meeting up with different people, and most times they actually weren't even with what we were doing. There was no connection to the work that we were going to do. But it was just to build networks in the community, as you say, and just get to know people and get to know the different things that are going on. And we found, I mean, that's been amazing for us. So I think the fact that you can just focus on that is brilliant for them businesses as well, and they will definitely 100% see it come back to them when they focus on that community piece as well.
Yeah, I think before we had stepped away, one of the big things, I suppose, for anybody who's watching who might be a manager or in a situation where you're in the startup phase, or I remember before we had stepped away, we used to go to small events, if you remember, Sean. So if we had a shift, we used to go to like free events that were on Eventbrite and just looking at things that we were actually just gathering info, because we were thinking, right, we know we want to do events, we know we want to do workshop style setup. And initially, that's all we wanted to do. We didn't know that it would have grew into what it is now. And I remember thinking, like, how in the hell how does everyone know everyone, and how does a network work? And now what I know compared to what I didn't know back then. At the time, I was thinking, like, how on earth are you ever going to get your name out there? How do you get your brand up to the point where people actually know you? How do you, and for us, we've been really lucky to meet people like you, Jenny, and to have built a network. And Sean mentioned that basically the first month, I think all we did was meet people every single day. And I think by the end of the month, we were like, crap, why have we just like, is this what business is? Do we just meet people every day? And no, it's not. But at that point, it was important for us to get out there and put our name out there and take off the hat, which was usually, I'm a manager, but this is what I do on the side. Take that hat off and actually put on it. No, I'm a startup business, and that's what we do, and we're full time in this. And that was our opportunity, I think, to sort of put ourselves out there as Core Impact and nothing else. And even the I think that everyone has that kind of script in their head. So for me, it was always Odyssey Bowl, Odyssey Bowl, Odyssey Bowl. And I think the first few times I had to catch myself on when I was speaking, jumping in and changing it to Core Impact. So and that's a really interesting stage. And honestly, we've just been very lucky with the people we've had around us, but many people don't have that. And I think it's so important for a place like an organization like Raise Ventures, who can really take you from even before you step away, maybe from full-time work, and bring you through the stage and signpost the most important things. Like, from your perspective, is there a common trend when somebody comes through the door? Obviously, fear, I would imagine, would be a big thing. Is there in that process, is there a point when you focus on the importance of networking? And
yeah, I mean, they come to us, they're really excited, they've got an innovative idea, they've got the right attitude, they've got the resilience, and they're just kind of looking to take that next step. But yeah, I'm going to say confidence and fear does play into that. Is my idea going to be good enough? Are people going to knock me down? Are people going to say that's a crazy idea? And even when we hear some of the ideas that are crazy, we kind of go, how do we help these guys? And is there something in this? And you're trying to dig into those ideas a wee bit further and maybe you need to pull in industry experts. We've had one recently that we're talking to university with, because it is a very deep technology that we just don't understand. So, trying to pull in the experts to understand what's under the hood, and is this something that could go somewhere, and just having a good couple of conversations. And sometimes they don't go anywhere, and that's okay. And sometimes they're going to go be successful, because we would rather that they pivot or change early on than keep going with something that's not going to work, because it takes so much time. And when you're a startup and you're up and you're running, it's not a 6-month thing. It could be a 5-10 year thing. And if you're chasing something that's just not going to work, you're going to burn out before you even get started. So fear and confidence would be the two things that we try and help these guys with. And how do they overcome that? I mean, getting them out, talking to the community, even talking within our own network of startups, just sounding out ideas, building online communities through the likes of WhatsApp, so that they can come on and ask any question. I mean, no question's silly in our eyes. You don't know what you don't know. Even some of the guys were asking here, do you know any good accountants? And that's something that maybe startups think, oh, I should know about finance, I should know about accountancy. But if it's not your area of expertise, then you need somebody to help.
It's also trying to balance all that as well, isn't it? Because when you're really trying to push your idea forward, and then you're worried about the financial side. I mean, from like talking about ourselves again, but I mean, at the very beginning when it came to the financial side, I love maths, but honestly, trying to focus in on the finances of the business, I really struggled at the start. We just ended up going to get an accountant, because it takes that worry away from you. If you're able to do that, but obviously everybody's circumstances are completely different. But it is like there is so much to balance there that it can be quite difficult. And I think as well, the thing you were saying there, Jenny, as well, about it is a long-term plan. So a lot of people might come in thinking, I can get rich quick kind of thing, or I can achieve this really fast. And of course, that's not likely to happen. We'll have to be just patient about it. But that's one of the things that with any business that we go into, we always talk about the vision first. And it's always about seeing where you're going to go in the future. We practice that ourselves. It was only last week there that we done a game of back to that vision exercise, just to make sure you're on the right path again. Do you find many of them do come in with that quick expectation, or do they have a vision, a long-term vision that they would look at?
So I suppose with the idea, if it's a tech idea and they can see the opportunity and the problem, they think and they know in their heart of hearts that it could go big, it could go global, it could be a real success. So they have that ambition, but would they have the vision to deliver that is slightly different. So that's what we talk to them about. It's great having the ambition and going to go global, but how? And that's the vision piece. We Raise ourselves have done it with you guys. it really helped us kind of narrow down what we were as Raise, because we were 4 different founders coming from quite different backgrounds. We knew we wanted to help startups. We didn't nail it down as to how we were going to do that. And now we've got that, and we do check back on it. You know, some of the vision stuff we have is bravery. Are we still being brave? Yes, certainly. You know, we're out launching program after program, trying to attract startups and trying to see how we go. So, you know, we're trying to walk the talk.
Yeah. I think that's brilliant for any startups coming in to see as well, isn't it? You know, that you can say this, we're practicing this too. You know, we all need to do it. It's not just you. And to see the benefits as well, of course, of what it brings to your business.
One of the ongoing conversations we've had even before this recording, Jenny, was the importance of culture within startups. And I suppose from your perspective, is that something that you try to highlight with organizations? You know, that if this does start, and in many cases, I'm sure when the ball does start rolling and they do maybe start taking people on, and do you try to focus on that, or do you highlight the importance of that to them?
Yeah, I think culture for us is about the people, and we try and encourage our startups to talk to people of maybe the same industry, maybe the same mindset, and people that kind of are going to be on this journey with them. And that, I think, is the culture piece that we try and help them. And that not feeds into the founders and their mentors. It could feed into the team, as you say, their first hire. Are you hiring the right type of people in the same mindset? Because startup world is not 9 to 5. You have to do it. You have to make the tea and build a product and sell it. And that could be one person doing those 3 jobs. And it's about the team. And then also, because we do the investment piece as well, people buy from people, and they're going to invest. Similar investors from industry are going to invest in startups in that industry, and also of the same mindset. So we kind of focus, the culture piece sort of ties into the people piece for us mostly.
100%. Yeah. I
suppose even you guys as a team as well are part of their culture too, because you're obviously invested in their business, so you're automatically part of their team, so they're kind of not on their own in that respect, which is great. Like in terms of we see obviously lots of organizations who don't focus on culture, as well as many that do, of course, but you can see how people just let it drift away and the problems that it causes. And I think with a startup, if you can get it right from the very start, you take away a lot of pain from down the line. You know, if you can really get in there and get it right before you hire that first person. You know, and I know people think of the culture as being this big massive team, but if you get it right from the very beginning, I just think pain points disappear if you have your vision, if you have them values, and you really know where you're going. And as you say, Jenny, the people that you want to have on board, the people that are a right fit for your company.
Sorry, I think there's a slight delay. I'm cutting over you.
Yeah, I interrupted you there earlier on. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I personally think that with many, as Sean mentioned, there are a lot of people who are starting a business up might think that's something way down the line. I don't need to worry about that. But really, it's actually so important to have that vision that you mentioned, Jenny, and Sean, you said there that we go back to that. And do you know what you find when you return back to it and you put yourself in a position where you set time aside to think, well, where is the landing pad? Where do we want to go? What is the overall goal here? And I think your why, like the reason you're doing, the purpose of what you're doing, falls into your vision very much so. And it's so refreshing, because sometimes something comes about that on your journey wasn't there before, and all of a sudden it becomes part of the vision. And in terms of your core values that you mentioned, Jenny, you need to have them from the get-go. And we've been, as I say, very fortunate in terms of the network that we've built up, and people say to us a lot that your personality seems to shine through when you're talking, and clearly you care about what you do. And for us, that's our way of showing our core values, you know, our way of showing our empathy and our passion for what we do. And for even if you just take one element of it, because investment is a huge thing, as you say, Jenny, and if you can walk in and you have your vision and your core values in place, and you're actively living them, whether you're one person or a team of 5, when you're going in and you're trying to find investment, this is a feeling that investors need to get from you. They need to feel your passion. They need to feel that you're in it and that you're living and breathing what it is. And for me, when you talk about your culture, your organizational culture, that needs to be there from the start. And if you can showcase that, that's what brings it alive, whether it's from a marketing perspective or just standing in front of a room of people and pitching. If you have those nuts and bolts, I guarantee you that people will jump on that journey with you and they'll say, if nothing else, I believe in you and I believe in the passion you have for this product. And that can be the difference between investment and not investment. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So you are a founder, you've come up with a great idea, but all of a sudden you move into we call the CEO role or the leader role. So you need to, as you say, live and breathe those values and that vision, and you're leading the way forward and saying, I'm going this way, I'm going to create this great big global, solution that lots of people are going to buy, and you're either on my train or you're not. And this is my strategy and this is what we're going to do. And you have to 100% believe in it to get everybody else to believe in it, no matter whether it's your team or your investors or your customers even as well, because everything, your vision and your values and the culture can also spill over into, as you said, like your sales pitch or your networking, and how that you bring on your ideal customers as well. So it kind of all ties nicely together that these founders, once they become leaders and they know what they're doing, they know their pitch, they know their business inside out, people will buy from people, and that's ultimately what you're trying to do, trying to sell that vision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a fair point.
There's another challenge, of course, as well. Being a leader, it might not always be the natural thing for someone, And I don't know, maybe I'm sort of barking up the wrong tree here, but with tech businesses, would you find that leadership wouldn't be a natural trait with someone coming in that focuses on technology?
Yeah, it depends where they come from. So we get a mix of founders. We get some coming from industry that has spotted a solution and they need tech help to build it. And we get some coming from a tech background, know how to build the thing, but need the help to commercialize it. And in both aspects, stepping from that role of being in a job, you may or may not have been a leader. It's a challenge to go and do it on your own and become that leader. So yeah, there's a different sort of type of skill set, everything like you mentioned, from pitching through to just kind of writing it down on paper and getting on and doing it. You're not going to have a boss saying, how are you getting on with that? You kind of have to have yourself accountable. And I guess that's why we're here. We'll be saying, look, have you guys done your business plan? Have you done your pitch? How are you getting on? Just somebody, bit of carrot and stick, bit of accountability.
That's definitely needed. Like, I mean, for us, we had Gavin Wall as a mentor, and now we have a lot of different people who we kind of turn to when we need something, which is amazing to have. But in terms of accountability, we have to use each other. It doesn't always work, I have to be honest, because we're too familiar. So sometimes you do need to go to external sources, I suppose, to get that accountability. But it is, Jenny, it's so important. And as I said from the start there, it's amazing to have you guys to provide all of that. You kind of get the full package there, really, don't you? All that, the support and the knowledge and the accountability all come together. So I think that is absolutely amazing that people can have that starting up.
Yeah, I think, sorry, Jenny, go ahead.
I suppose it's only when you start to talk to the founders that you find out, you get the feedback. So we try and do, the testimonial piece and the 360 piece. And then, for us, we're really lucky that we launched the program in the last week or so, and our founders were jumping on the bandwagon and sharing it even without us having to ask. So it kind of shows that we're doing something right.
Yeah.
It's that kind of right. We're on the right track. We're helping our founders in the right way, and if we can continue to do that and add value, then we're on that track of delivering our vision.
Yeah, I think that sings true to your culture and the fact that you've created an environment for the startups that they feel that they want to become your ambassadors as well. We all know what it's like whenever, I don't know, maybe you like a certain coffee shop or you like a certain service. Like we all seem to, I think, when you're with a certain broadband, I'm not going to name who I'm with because I'm not happy with them in it, but usually I'm beating the drum for them. And I think when you're happy and you're bought into something, you will, especially in this situation where people they know you're part of their business as soon as you come in. And that's where the uniqueness is with what you guys do. It's that you're taking a stake, but that means you're part of that journey, and with that comes all your expertise, all your experience. I mean, you guys, I know as founders, you have other businesses and you successful businesses, and so you've been there and done that. And so what you're doing is amazing. I think we were really blown away. I hope that's all right to say, Sean, but we were blown away by the whole setup, because the initial meeting that we had with you was actually through Lee Matthews actually, and she was holding an event. She'd asked us to go and speak, and that was our first introduction to you and Ria's, and I remember that same day we were really blown away by the whole setup, the fact that you have such a fantastic site right in the heart of Belfast, and obviously things are a wee bit different now. I know everything's socially distancing, and maybe there aren't as many events in person being held, but regardless, as an asset, that in itself, I think there's some that sings true. To vibrance is the word that comes to mind. Whenever you're a startup, you want to have all this energy and buzz, and where you are actually does mimic that, because literally on your doorstep are some of the most well-known bars and restaurants. And I remember we came out that day, it was a Saturday, and the buzz was brilliant, and I was going, imagine coming back and forward to this place to, you know, build your dream. You'd be nearly set up before you walk through the door. The point of it I wanted to make was just about that culture, and about, suppose a lot of people look at us and say, well, what is culture? What does it do? And what's the point of it? And for us, we just like to say, the example that I always give if somebody asks about culture is, if you walk into any environment, any business, but for any consumer, everyone's walked into a restaurant, and we've all had that feeling when you look over and you know the waitress doesn't want to be there, and she doesn't want to see you there. And maybe it's like an hour before they close, and they're not rolling their eyes, but you can feel them rolling their eyes, and you get that feeling. For me, that's culture. Because if that culture was the way it probably should be, you should feel welcomed. You should feel like you should take your time, and that person should make eye contact, and the communication should flow. And I suppose you might ask, if you're a startup watching this, well, what does that mean for me? Well, it means a lot for you, because for us, we like to say there's 5 pillars to culture, and the very first thing is strategy, and we've mentioned that, and that's your vision, your core values, what you're about, why you're doing what you're doing, and how you're going to do it, and the personality traits, that's your core values of how you're going to do it to reach where you're going. But then leadership, so we talked about leadership there, and leadership's important the whole way through the organization, and maybe, as Jenny says, you're the first person, you're the only person, and but you also do have to start showing that leadership externally, the macro environment. There might be people who you want to engage with. Maybe there's possible talent in an industry that you want to pull from, and you need to show leadership skills in order to attract them to you. And communication. I know I'm rhyming off our impact success here, but it's just to give somebody an idea of what culture is. Communication is key, and that's why we put it in the middle. Because no matter who you are, whether it's pitching, whether it's basically trying to attract new talent, and just networking in general, communication is so important. And then lastly, the last 2 are motivation and mindset, and they go hand in hand, because mindset and well-being, especially at the moment, as we all know, is so important to create that environment that everyone wants to come to work and feels good about it. And I suppose that kind of leads me to Jenny, with at the moment, obviously there's a lot of issues going on in the world. Do you see that coming up as a trend, as a fear for people? And
so we took a sort of an action at the end of last year that we would like to run some kind of mental health workshops for our startups, and we were running them here in the office, which was really good, and we got some great feedback. And then lockdown happened, and we went online, and we're like, well, how do we continue to do these? And we actually just moved to kind of being more approachable and available for our startups, and having open communication and regular catch-ups. And I'm now looking at restarting those kind of mental health workshops to kind of broaden them out. So fantastic. Yeah, that kind of mindset and motivation, everybody deals with it differently. Mm-hmm. Some people just want to get on and do stuff. Some people want to have a chat. And it's just understanding kind of, you get to know your startups and what they need at which point. And it's challenging. It's been really challenging. I suppose what we've tried to do is keep that community piece going. We've run some online workshops on different topics to try and kind of touch on things that are of interest and maybe away from the news. UX was one, community was another, and even having stories from startups who have been there and done it to kind of say, look, it's tough, guys, but look how far I've come in only a couple of years. And these startups aren't the Facebooks, they're only a couple of years ahead. So it actually, for me, it felt a wee bit more real to hear their story and go, it's okay. I've been in your shoes only a couple of years ago, and look where we are now. So a bit of inspiration can then feed back into that motivation, because it is very up and down as a startup. You kind of get that idea and you're flying, and then you can have a very sort of low period of nothing's happened. and you need that kind of acceleration or something to happen to push you back up to, yeah, it's all going to be good. So if you get an inspirational story or even just a coffee or a chat with somebody, it can kind of set you back on track. So you're very, very kind of aware that mindset and motivation is key, you know.
Yeah, and obviously it is more challenging now than it's challenging at any time starting up a business, but now it's a bit more difficult. And I think everybody has that challenge of I mean, you basically have a culture there, Jenny, with the startups, you know, that you're all working together, and building that remote culture is a challenge. You know, I don't think there's any substitute, in all honesty, for face to face. I think it's just that's the way it should be. But of course, we'll have to work with what we have and listening to the people and just opening that door and providing the tools that you're providing are all brilliant ways to do that. But the fact that they can lift the phone to you or jump on a Zoom call or whatever the case may be will really be beneficial to them and then the well-being days. Everything like that just works so well. And I think just we're talking about that, we mentioned vision there. And I think sometimes when you sit back and look at your vision as well, in terms of mindset and motivation, I think when you sit and look at that, that gives you a bit of excitement in many respects to what you're doing. And that most times will give you the motivation, and the motivation in turn will give you a positive mindset. So there's lots there that kind of works together. So it's great that you can do all these great things still even in these difficult periods.
Yeah, I personally think that the way you said, Jenny, there, that a conversation can put you back on track. And if you look on Google, and I posted something similar to this a couple of weeks ago, and there's days where as entrepreneurs, you're on the ground, you're sort of going, what is the next step and how in the hell am I going to reach this target? And sometimes you might have a brilliant network. If you're lucky like us, you have a brilliant network. And just as you're thinking like that, somebody will send you a message, or a good friend of yours will send you a link. And sometimes it's literally just all you need. Maybe you don't even need a conversation. Maybe you just need an interaction. But conversations, literally, there's so much power in and motivation in speaking to people who have been there and done that, or are on a similar journey, and they feel your pain points. Because I think, and you'll know better than anybody, Jenny, entrepreneurship's a lonely road. And whenever you're trying to move against the grain and your friends and your family are kind of giving you a side glance like, why are you bothering? Like, what is the problem? And that's why we're a unique breed, I think, with our attitudes. And usually you find somebody who's an entrepreneur is passionate. If nothing else, they're passionate about what they want to do. And they have this vision, and sometimes they don't realize they have a vision. That's why we always try to do a vision and exercise with people we're working with, and it just gives you that time for you and your challenge that you're trying to fix, for a new idea you have. And I think that those conversations for us, like, and thankfully me and Sean have each other, and as you say, Jenny, most people don't. So we're very fortunate, and we've worked together for a long time, so we know shut your face. we know our pitfalls, we know where our strengths lie, and we know that how to pick each other up, and we know how to motivate each other. And many people who don't have that, that's why Raise, I think, is a fantastic program. I think it's not just a simple 6-month program. You guys are there, and you're going to be there until a point whether it grows to the point where they want to sell it on, or if it grows to a point that they're really successful and it's ongoing, and that really you're going to be there that whole time. So that's why I think what Raise do are fantastic. It's, as I say, we've been on some accelerator programs, we're not going to name names, and they were okay, they were good. The networking was the biggest thing that we took from them, and some of the training that comes along with that. But what you are so bespoke, you're going to be there the whole time. And as you said, and at the start of the conversation there, you're invested, literally. So their success is your success, as you say. And that's what I think anyone who's maybe even thinking about starting up should maybe give you a call and have a chat. And is there any specific whys that you have, or asks that you have today that you wanted to maybe throw in there?
Well, yeah, I mean, as I mentioned, we run the Raise Accelerator program. We've just opened it up for the autumn intake. So we are just looking for that next early stage tech startup founders to come. They can have a chat with us, email, give us a shout. We can set up on a Zoom call, but the applications are open as well. And they're open really now for about the next month. We'd like to get the program up and running really before Christmas, because we are about kind of acceleration and moving fast and getting the ideas going as quick as we can. Check out raise-ventures.com if you want more information.
And I like the process kind of behind you there and the banner as well, the innovate, validate, accelerate, raise.
Yeah.
It's a nicely sort of it's a nicely process though. It kind of brings it to life what you're actually doing in there as well. Is there any sort of particular stage that people do need to be at that you sort of want to share?
Yeah, so we cover both. We cover that kind of early validation piece if you've got an idea and you want to explore it a bit further. And then we cover that later stage that maybe if you've built something and you just want to try and commercialize it. So under that early stage umbrella, we have kind of the two sort of types of founders. And we try and help both of those within our program and just trying to take them to the next stage along that journey, as you say, kind of innovate, validate it, check that there's going to be customers for this great idea, and then if there is, we'll then go and build the solution, and then you can accelerate and commercialize it, because there's no point in building something if there's no customers and spend all that time. So we do both. So
awesome. I think what you're doing is fantastic, and I could ask you 101 questions all day, but I know you're very busy. So look, I want to thank you before Sean does as we curtail. And if there's anything else you want to add, throw it in now before Sean says as we gimmicky finish line.
I just really want to take the opportunity to say thanks, guys, for the having the chat. That was really good, and I'm glad that you guys kind of see what we're doing and be happy. Let's keep talking about the culture and raising the profile of that as as a subject within different organizations, not just what we're doing with startups, but right up to the bigger guys. So yeah, delighted to be a part of what you guys are doing. So thank you.
Yeah, no, we always love chatting to you, and we've built up such a great connection with you, and we love what you do, and we're happy to beat the drum and say to anyone who wants more information or wants guidance, and we know some people who have worked through you guys, and they're very successful, and they're very much on the road to reaching their own dreams. So it is being done, and it can be done, and it can be you if you're watching. And the culture aspect is so important. That's what we do. We're trying to promote culture within organizations and give the solutions to the problems that people are having. And we believe the culture is usually at the center of that. It always is going to be. So delighted that you backed us up, and we're always happy to back you up.
And one of the things, just for any new companies thinking about coming in with you guys, Jenny, I just want to say, it was touched on earlier on when we did come in the first time round. It's such a nice environment that you've created there. So there is a feeling of positivity. It's relaxed, and it's just a nice space that you have. So for anybody coming in, it is very welcome. We weren't coming in that respect, but at the same time, as guests coming in, we felt so welcomed in there. And it's just a nice environment, a nice team to work with, and it's definitely something, if you're in that sort of process now, is to make contact. Jenny, what are the best ways for people to contact?
Come through the website, it's probably the best, and get in touch. And we have all our social details are available on LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter. So yeah, just get in touch.
Absolutely.
JP,
well, thank
you'll do your editing piece and get them in writing below.
I'll put them in there. I'll do my magic.
Anything he does well.
Well, yeah, no, but thank you, Jenny, so much. And look, it probably won't be the last time we'll have you on anyway, because there's so many topics that we could go on about, and innovations that you are doing, and that's in the background there. And so I'm excited to see where we can bring the conversation. And so keep posted, and you'll see Jenny again in our Culture Talks.
Thanks, Jenny. So guys, remember, engage, enable, and empower.